For this patch, we have a massive nerf on Twitch. Twitch got butchered. We have a lot of items getting nerfed as well. Crown, Magi's, Rune and Terracan. And if you guys are interested to see how this is going to affect the meta and the tier list, then definitely stay tuned. Hey, what's up guys? Darkbreaker here. Welcome to today's tier list for patch 4.4A. We have some massive nerfs for champions like Twitch, then also item nerfs for Rune and Terracan, for Magi's Soul Stealer, and also for the Crown. So actually the meta is kind of changing for a few champions, and especially for Twitch receiving a massive nerf. And anyways, I hope you guys will enjoy this tier list. I'm gonna run you guys through the best champion for each position, in my opinion, and what the pick of the patch is also for each position. Starting with the Baron lane, then jungle, then mid lane, and then ADC and the support. There will also be timestamps for you guys. And obviously this is my personal opinion about what I think the meta is like, and what I think are strong in the meta. Doesn't necessarily mean this is the go-to, this is the rule. Obviously, if you are a good player, you can make any champion work. Maybe it might be a little bit harder, but if you guys need an orientation to see, okay, this is a strong champion for the Baron lane, this is a strong champion for the mid lane, etc., you guys definitely can definitely use this as an orientation to see what you guys want to try out or want to learn and what is in the meta. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying it, so I guys can see that you guys have been enjoying my tier list. But anyways, let's get started with the Baron lane. Pick of the patch. To be fair, Baron lane is kinda in a position where they aren't that important game deciding wise on the meta. They're not like, wow, Baron laners are dominating the meta. If you have a good Baron laner, you're guaranteed to win the game. It's more like ADC and jungle orientated, or should I say bot and jungle orientated right now. Because better bot lane wins most of the times, while a good jungler can obviously impact the map with the objective control and the ganks, etc. Baron laners can still be useful, and since Aatrox received a pretty decent buff on the first ability and the passive, I decided, okay, Baron laners, they're kinda even when it comes down to S+ champions. They're all very good. I just wanted to highlight that Aatrox got a buff, and it's gonna make him way better than he already is. So I think, in my opinion, he's gonna be pick of the patch for the Baron lane, even though a lot of champions in the Baron lane are very strong right now, or should I say strong within the same tier. So I wouldn't necessarily say, well, Aatrox is way better than Jax, Aatrox is way better than Gwen. I wouldn't say that, but I just want to highlight that he got buffed now, so it's your time to abuse him, while his AD ratio on the first ability got buffed, and the percentage damage on the passive also got buffed. Now, next one's gonna be on champion with a very good crowd control in team fights and super tanky. Then we have Akali. Akali is an amazing assassin with really good burst potential and assassination power in team fights. Also great in the 1v1. Garen, easy to play champion, and he just gets so much value out. Like the return you're getting playing this champion. You need low skill, and he's still performing good against most champions. Being tanky, having the damage reduction, having the ultimate that does true damage makes him so good. Then we have Gwen with the percentage damage and sustain, very good hyper carry in the late game. Camille in the Baron lane, also very good duelist and split pusher. Great ultimate for team fighting to catch people. Gragas, very versatile champion, being able to use some AP or tanky, having a lot of playmaking potential in team fights as well. Vladimir is one of the strongest late game champions right now in the meta. This guy has so much sustain and damage, and pretty easy laning phase if you just play it safe. Jax, one of the best split pushers, one of the best duelists, and super strong late game scaling. Yeah, if you understand how to split push correctly, Jax can get a lot of value when people are clowning around for fights, and Jax just plays the objective. Fiora received the buff for the vitals and for the damage on the ultimates. Nice to have, but the main core issue is still definitely her team fighting capabilities in comparison to like a Jax or Camille. Fiora is way harder to play skill-wise and also in team fights. So that's why obviously in the 1v1 as a split pusher she's amazing, but still hard to play, and also teamfight wise hard to master and play as well. Riven, high mobility, burst damage, great in the 1v1. Then we have Jace. Jace is an amazing lane bully. He has such an... Wait, did I move the camera already? Oh yeah, I did. Nice. Jace, strong lane bully, amazing poking damage as well. Shen, great utility in team fight, obviously, thanks to his ultimate, thanks to the taunt. And even in the 1v1, he's doing fine with the Divine Thundra, Tabai, and Rumble Vest. No, I have it. Now we have Darius. Darius is a strong juggernaut. He's beefy, big boy. He has true damage as well and a lot of sustain. The problem is definitely that he might get kited. Zed is an amazing teamfight champion and also strong in the 1v1. Renekton, strong lane bully, amazing in teamfights. Overall, a very solid champion. Mundo, Dr. Mundo does fine in the 1v1, is an amazing tanky frontline in teamfights. Malphite, obviously, a very good hard counter against physical damage compositions, since he can just stack up armor. Then he has the ultimate as well, where he can just initiate and just knock people up. That makes him very good. Sion, also a great split pusher and amazing in teamfights. Wukong, he has a lot of sustain and the ultimate is amazing in teamfights. Tank Yasuo with Divine Thundra and Grasp is very tanky, can trade really well against most champions, and in teamfights he can be very amazing with the ultimate in combination with other knocking up champions. Plus late game he scales like a truck, being super tanky while doing a lot of damage. Swain, I think he's solid A tier. Laning phase wise, I think he can hold his own or just farm up safely. And then when he scales, he obviously provides a lot of utility and is pretty tanky as well while doing a decent amount of damage. Yone is a champion that is super scaling into the late game. In the 1v1, high skill ceiling, I would say, that he can make it work, but he definitely has some hard matchups against more tanky champions or bruisers that can stack armor. But overall, Yone in teamfights late game very good. Teemo is very popular right now. BMO, yeah, that champion is a very strong lane bully. Then he kind of fought off in the 1v1 when the opponent gets level 5, obviously. But then in the late game, if you manage to set up a lot of shrooms, he can be very good in team fights. Next one is going to be Zed. Zed is also very similar to Yone, a champion that has high skill ceiling. In the 1v1 with outplaying, I mean, he can outplay champions, but obviously he will struggle against champions that have armor and that do damage. Let's see. What could be a good example? Maybe Garen, for example, Jax or Camille when they're getting Death Dance or stuff like that, or getting Tabai plus Death Dance. Very hard for Zed to kill them. And in the 1v1 they're also strong, but Zed definitely has some potential. Cannon, strong lane bully, amazing in team fights. Akshan, very strong lane bully as well, but kind of vulnerable to ganks, and he does scale good into the late game. Aurelia, also a high skill ceiling champion with, you need to know the matchup, because there are a lot of matchups that are hard for Aurelia to play, but if you're snowballing, you definitely can carry games. Pantheon is a champion that is extremely strong in the early game. In the 1v1, he wants to bully his lane opponents, he wants to snowball, he wants to use the ultimate to gank globally on the map and try to extend his snowballing, but at the same time he's falling off in the mid and late game. So that's the biggest problem about Pantheon, where he just becomes a stun bot at some point. Urgot is definitely a champion that is good against tanky champions because of his percentage damage. He is also tanky and has good playmaking potential in teamfights. Then we have Volibear. He's a tanky beefy champion and is amazing frontline in teamfights as well. Since Singed is a champion that is also amazing in teamfights thanks to his playmaking potential, catching people, being tanky, doing a lot of damage, but he's weak in the laning phase. Tryndamere also weak in the laning phase and very scaling, but in the late game he's super good. Same for Graves, that he is very scaling, and he has some good matchups, but he has also some bad matchups. But he's very slow and scaling. Same for the Nasus. Nasus is a champion that struggles against a lot of matchups in the early mid game. He needs a lot of time to scale, and that's the biggest problem, that you probably don't have the time to scale when enemy ADC is 10-0 or something, or 5-0, while you're still AFK farming. Kayle, C tier. I don't know why every single tier list I'm saying the same about Kayle. She's very vulnerable in the early game. She's super weak in the early game. She needs a lot of time to scale and farm up. And yeah, very easy to gank and punish her. Okay guys, let's move on with jungle. Pick of the patch is gonna be Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix, I think he definitely benefits from AP assassins. Kinda getting soft nerf with the Magi's nerf, plus with the crown nerf, making Kha'Zix, I mean Kha'Zix was always good, but I just feel like with the nerfs right now on the Magi's, Magi's big nerf and Crown also decent nerf. I still think Crown is broken, but Kha'Zix is just a champion that is absolutely broken. Damage wise, objective control wise, he is just controlling them super well, and he's just way more consistent than a champion like Evelynn, where Evelynn will struggle against some compositions like that are tanky. Well, Evelynn benefits when the opponents don't have that much crowd control and they're not that tanky, but Kha'Zix can even beat tanky compositions. Kha'Zix can go for Bruiser build and still beat tanky compositions, where Evelynn, if she doesn't snowball from the get-go, she will struggle. She's a champion that is super snowball reliant, and most of the times it will work, obviously. But yeah, I still think she's S+ tier, obviously. But I just think Kha'Zix is better than Evelynn, in my opinion. Lee Sin, also a champion that is an amazing jungler. High tempo, spam ganking, innovating, tons of damage, high mobility. Diana, also amazing. Honestly, honestly, Diana, there are some compositions where she might not work as good, but you can always go for like a more Bruiser Diana build with Rod of Age, or maybe with a Nashor's Tooth, or maybe with Conqueror, instead of going for full burst damage build. But Diana is just a one-shotting machine, and amazing team fights, and has a lot of mobility as well. Then we have Aatrox that got buffed, that is also so good right now. He's tanky, he has a lot of sustain, he has a lot of damage as well. Gragas with the AP build, just one-shotting people, a lot of playmaking. Shyvana got buffed, and Shyvana is so good right now if you know how to farm up and play the map correctly. Need good macro understanding, because obviously Shyvana is not a spam ganking champion, and she needs time to scale. But yeah, late game she can carry games super hard. So S tier. And I just want to remind you guys, there is no order between the ranks, by the way, or between the same tier. There is no ranking order. I just put Shyvana first because she got buffed, so I want to talk about her first. Same for Vi. Vi also got buffed. They buffed her early armor by 2, I think, and then also the ultimate cooldown. So that's nice to have buff, making her a little bit stronger in the early game, and also the ultimate being able to use it more often. But overall, I don't think it pushes her into S+ tier. She is not like an insane hyper carry champion. She's a very teamfight orientated champion, and overall she's obviously an amazing jungler, good ganks, good jungle clear speed, and tanky as well. Echo got buffed, but I think these buffs don't really matter too much for Echo. Buffing his AP scaling ratio on the first ability a little bit, and the ultimate as well. Ultimate cooldown if I'm not wrong. But let's see. Yeah. Oh, the base damage by 10. The base damage got buffed by 10, ability ratio stays the same, and the cooldown got lowered in the early game by 10 seconds. I mean, it's nice to have, but Echo is still a champion that is super scaling, and he needs time. He needs time, guys. I could talk about Fizz as well, because they're also very similar. Fizz, also a champion very similar to Echo. That is an amazing assassin, but his early game jungle clear is not that fast. I mean, it's okay. It's faster than Echo, but he still needs items. He needs 3 items when he's starting to accelerate and then just keep one-shotting people. That's when he's like, just pew pew pew, you're just getting one-shotted. But beforehand, he is a champion that needs to focus on farming more. Fiddlesticks got a hot nerf or hot fix. Why did this hot fix last week before this patch even, because he was doing really good. But I still think he's a champion. Obviously, if you land a good ultimate, you're winning games. Yeah, but he's a champion that is very weak in the early game and easy to punish for assassins because he's so squishy. That's the main problem. If you don't have the right setup, you will struggle in team fights. So that's why I think just S tier in my opinion. Even though he has good win rate, but after the nerfs his win rate is dropping, and I just haven't seen a good Fiddlesticks, and even now with the nerfs, even less likely to see a really good Fiddlesticks. So S tier. Yone, late game monster. Morgana, control mage, one of the fastest jungle clear speeds. Hakarim, high mobility, Bruiser with a lot of damage and sustain. Wukong, amazing sustain and amazing in team fights. Kayn, amazing assassin, whether you're running him as Darkin or as Rast. Blue form, very good against squishy champions and Rast. The red form, very good against tanky champions, but kind of inconsistent when it comes down to getting the blue form quickly. And you also need the right setup where you can get the blue form, because if they have like only one range champion, probably can get blue form. So Kayn when snowballing is a menace, but at the same time inconsistent in my opinion. Now we have Jarvan. Jarvan, high jungle tempo, spam ganker with a lot of damage and good playmaking. Very good in teamfights as well. Riven, high mobility, burst damage champion, does a lot of damage and can just one-shot people. Jace, very strong in the early game, does a lot of damage as well and has amazing poking damage. Okay, wait a second guys, sorry. Okay, Pantheon. Pantheon is a strong assassin, I would say, that can spam gank left and right. And with the crit build, he does decent amount of damage in the mid and late game still, but obviously he's still a champion that kind of falls off. So in my opinion, S tier. Volibear, amazing frontline, good ganks with a dive. With the ultimate, using the ultimate for diving, since you can disable turrets, and he's an amazing meat shield and teamfights as well. Sincho, just a great bruiser, good damage, good ganks, but that's about it. Olaf, amazing counter against crowd control and tanky champions thanks to his true damage, and he can also ignore crowd control thanks to his ultimate. Shen in the jungle, definitely decent thanks to his ultimate for counter ganks and then the taunt for ganking, plus obviously he's an amazing playmaker thanks to his taunt as well. Amumu, his ultimate, very good in teamfights. Rammus, great counter against physical damage, plus he can gank a lot. He has high pressure in the early game thanks to his first ability to just roll and then taunt people, just ganking left and right. Very similar to Nunu, also a spam ganking champion that is amazing in teamfights afterwards. Dr. Mundo, good meat shield and does decent amount of damage. Neela with the Lulu, one of the most broken combos, or with the Yumi as well. But very scaling obviously, and she's also squishy, but when she has like 3 items plus, she is a menace. Twitch jungle, massive nerf. I can show you what they did really quick. They nerfed the passive AP ratio, they nerfed the third ability AP ratio and attack damage ratio, and then on top of that they nerfed the monster damage to monsters, but they increased the ballistic speed of his ultimate from 4000 to 6000. I just think Twitch in the jungle, his jungle clear is too bad. I tried. I needed 130 to just do the red clear. I still think he's viable because you just want to spam gang anyways, and late game he's a monster. But definitely his farming is nerfed and his AP build is nerfed massively. So maybe you have to run him AD now. Maybe you just have to run him full AD build instead of AP build, because AP build got nerfed massively, like the AP ratio on the passive and on the third ability, but bullet speed is pretty good on the ultimate, to be fair. So maybe AD build is the way to go on Twitch now. Jungle clear is dog shit, but I still think he's viable. He's very similar to Pyke, honestly. Since we're talking about... No, what happened? Huh? Since we're talking about champions that have shit jungle clear, but are good at like ganking, Pyke is very similar. That his jungle clear is bad, but his playstyle is like a Lee Sin where you just spam gank left and right trying to snowball. Yeah, that's for A tier. Fiora got buffed, but I still think she's just A tier in the jungle. Good in skirmishes, good in the 1v1, but she needs to kind of snowball in the early game and dominate. I mean, you can focus on farming, but she's not really an amazing ganker. Now we have Gwen. Gwen, slow jungle clear, but late game monster. Camille, slow jungle clear, but has some good ganks with the ultimate and scales very good into the late game and great catch potential mobility. Zed, high skill ceiling, but has some very good ganking and diving potential. Aurelia, also a high skill ceiling champion, but when she snowballs, she has a lot of damage and a lot of mobility and is great at killing ranged champions. Next we have Darius. Darius is a juggernaut that is excellent at countering melee champions because he can stack up easily, and then with a Noxus Might and the ultimate he's just executing people. Urgot, good jungle clear and very good ganks and very good in teamfights as well. Rengar, inconsistent champion, but he's kind of hit and miss. Either he's one-shotting you or he's useless. Graves, very scaling champion, but in the late game he has a lot of damage and sustain. Lilia is a champion that is pretty solid, but she needs a lot of time to scale. She has good damage and is good in team fights once she has like 3 items, but beforehand you just have to focus on farming. Very similar to Kayle as well. That is a champion that is super weak in the early game, but in the jungle she's allowed to scale easier by just AFK farming, and then when she has items she's just doing a lot of damage and can carry games in the late game. Nautilus, over a solid jungler, decent jungle clear and good ganks. Master Yi, very similar to Rengar, a coin flip champion. Either he's just running you down or he is a useless minion. Next one is gonna be Singed. Singed is I would say, cheesy jungler. Cheesy jungler is probably the best description about Singed. That he has some very good ganking potential. His jungle clear is okay-ish. He's not that strong in the early game, but his ganks are devastating. And late game he scaled so well, and he has a lot of playmaking and catching potential thanks to the second and third ability. Warwick got buffed. I don't know, I'm not a fan of Warwick. I mean, some people would probably put him in like A tier. I mean, I don't know, what do you guys think? A or B tier? He got buffed, his healing is better, his ultimate cooldown is also lower. But his main problem is his teamfight is just dog shit, what can I say? His team fighting is dog shit, his ganks are good though. His ganks are very good. He has a lot of sustain. 1 versus 1 he's amazing. But team fighting, carrying team fights, he is pretty damn shitty. A or B, I'm not sure. Tryndamere and Jax are too scaling, but late game they're very good. Well, yeah, that's gonna be it for the jungle. That's gonna be it for the jungle tier list. Let's move on to mid lane. So for mid lane, we have Vladimir. Pick off the patch, Vladimir, with the crown as well, having the damage reduction and making him absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, he's a champion that has too much sustain and too much damage in the late game. Vladimir, 3+ items, or let's say 4 items, he will carry most games, having way too much damage and sustain. Plus the orb, plus the crown giving him damage reduction makes him even harder to kill. Corki got buffed, guys, and Corki's poking damage with the rocket is insane. Let me tell you that one. Corki is very good. They buffed his attack damage and the attack damage per level, and then they also buffed the ultimate, especially the big rocket. If you get hit by the big rocket, it can chunk you down so badly. Corki is definitely really good poking wise and also teamfight wise thanks to his package. Kassadin with Crown, so good right now as well. Amazing assassin, and obviously in the late game he will carry games. One-shotting plus high mobility. Akali, I already said it, amazing assassin, just one-shotting people in team fights. Annie with the ultimate, amazing playmaking. Then we have Lux, bind, burst damage, shield value for utility. Diana, amazing team fights as well. Thanks to her ultimate and high mobility burst damage. Yone, I already explained it. It's a champion that scales so well into the late game and has so much playmaking potential and so much damage. Wait a second. Zed. Zed is a strong assassin in the 1v1. That can just one-shot people. Very high skill ceiling. Yasuo, or should I say tank? Yasuo is disgustingly broken. Too tanky, too much damage, especially if you're a good Yasuo and you have the right setup. Very hard to deal with. Plus they buffed Yasuo. They reduced the cooldown of the wind wall to 18 seconds at every rank. Zoe, amazing poking champion. Katarina is a reset champion. If you get one reset, you're just gonna wipe everyone, kill everyone. Ari, high mobility burst assassin with good playmaking thanks to her charm. Then we have Akshan, very strong lane bully and good at snowballing the game thanks to her stealth, just ganking in the lanes left and right. Then we have Swain. Swain, tanky champion, good utility and good crowd control. Twist of Fate with Crown and with the new rapid fire item, very good by the way. Provides good crowd control thanks to the gold card and good map control thanks to his ultimate ganking left and right. Vex is an amazing assassin with the fear and the reset mechanic. Orianna and Ziggs are good utility poking mages. Fizz is kind of weak in the early game, but is strong in the 1v1 once he gets level 5. And once he gets like 3 items, he's just gonna one-shot people left and right. Gregor's amazing poking mage with good playmaking potential. Galio also very good. This champion has taunt, knock up, good poking damage, global ultimate, very good, and counters AP champions as well thanks to the damage reduction he has on the second ability. And obviously very good playmaking champion as well, like just initiating with the taunt, like dashing in, taunting people. Lucian, high burst damage, high mobility. Aurelia, very good in the mid lane because of her 1v1 potential against ranged champions. Karma provides a lot of poking damage and utility thanks to her shielding and an amazing ultimate in teamfights. Vega is Vega is utility-wise, he's amazing in teamfights when you have like some frontline. He's kind of weak in the early game, but in the late game, he's just one-shotting people, so that's the advantage. So you kind of have to play it slow. Try to push out the wave, so the mid laner is not going to rotate and just gank left and right. So that's what you should try, because you can't really roam in the early game. And you need to focus on farming, but the Event Horizon is just so good in teamfights as well. Jace is an amazing lane bully and has good poking damage. Brand got buffed. But I still think he is not S tier, because he just lacks mobility. And it's hard for him to play when, let's say, the Thresh is just spam ganking bot lane. You can't do anything. You can't really roam, and you need frontline as well to make him work. Echo to scaling and is weak in the early game, but he got also buffed, so definitely playable and scaled like a truck in the late game. Pyke is a very snowball reliant champion that needs to win in the early game and then just bang left and right. His wave clear is not that good since they nerfed it, but still fine to snowball on. Morgana poking wise, very good in team fights, provides a lot of utility and crowd control, but she's a bit scaling in the early game. Aurelion Sol is a good roamer and very good in team fights, but hard to play, and also in the 1v1 hard to play. Gwen, to scaling, you guys already know the explanation. Riven can be a good counter against some matchups. Oh, I forgot, why do I have Garen as S tier? Garen is an amazing counter against like melee champions, while Riven is also a great counter against some squishy champions or like some more melee champions. High mobility, high burst damage, and Garen is just very beefy if you guys need a tank or you guys don't need AP damage in the mid lane. Singed, Very cheesy, but it has good playmaking in the mid lane, like just ganking left and right. Trying to push out the wave and then just ganking, and then he's scaling into the late game, and he has really good catch potential. Cannon amazing in team fights, but I would say not that good in the 1v1 in the early game. Kai'Sa very scaling, but you can definitely make her work in the mid lane. Pantheon, you guys already know the explanation from the top lane, that he's just falling off, but obviously very strong laner in the early game, and then the ultimate to gank left and right as well. Fiddlesticks, honestly, I have no opinion on Fiddlesticks in the mid lane. I'm just gonna move him out. Yeah, he's just a jungler, guys. Kayle in the mid lane, very scaling, but it's easier for her to scale in the mid lane. You guys know the explanation already about her from the Baron lane. Lilia also very scaling and kind of struggles, while Seraphine, she has too many bad matchups, and I think she's too scaling and her roams are bad and she lacks mobility. But yeah, that's good. Let's move on to ADCs. Okay guys, pick up the patch, Kai'Sa for ADC position. This champion is still disgustingly broken, way too much damage, and before they nerfed the Runan Kai'Sa was disgusting. It made her so good because Runan gave her more range. It's like a secret bug right now, where you're extending your range thanks to Runan's Hurricane when you get that item. So it's actually crazy that not that many people have talked about it, but Kirks from Pro Guides mentioned it on Twitter. So now that I know that, it makes sense why so many people are getting Runan's Hurricane because of the range bug. But at the same time, this champion are using AP Kai'Sa, just doing way too much damage, really good poking damage, and she has like the burst damage of an assassin as an ADC. Then she has Delve, she has shielding, repositioning, a long range poke with a second ability, super safe champion. As plus tier, Lucian high mobility burst damage. Corki, long range poking champion that got buffed, plus amazing team fights thanks to the package. Jhin, very strong in the early game, hits like a truck, hits like an assassin basically. Dustblade making him even better since they changed the Dustblade, so strong S plus tier for Jhin as well. Now we have Bloodthirster got changed, and we got the new ADC item, making Tristana and Caitlyn so good. Caitlyn just dominating from the early game, and Tristana just taking over in the mid and late game completely. Next one's gonna be Ezreal. I feel like Ezreal is just kind of falling off in comparison to the others because he's very late game scaling, and he does have good late game poke. He has good late game poke and also high mobility, but I think he's just too scaling, and champions that can run Bloodthirst and the new ADC item are just way better or just dominate from the get-go in comparison to Ezreal. But Ezreal is still a very safe champion. Samira is a strong teamfight champion with a reset mechanic and has a lot of sustain, very similar to Neela as well in teamfights. They're absolutely amazing, but I feel like they kind of do need like a champion that can set up for them, like initiate beforehand and then they can follow. And if you don't have any frontline, then it's very hard for Neela or Samira to work because they do need the setup. Draven in the early game, extremely strong. Misfortune also extremely strong in the early game and good in the team fights with the ultimate. Saya, solid champion with the range that she has and the feathers, and then she can just pull back, and she has the ultimate for self-peel. Varus, a long range poking champion with decent utility. Karma, Lux, and Orianna are solid utility poking mages that can be good when you have AD assassin in the mid lane. Ashe provides a lot of utility and poking damage, plus then she has the ultimate for catch potential, but I just feel like she doesn't do as much damage as the other ADCs. Jinx, Vayne, Zarya, and Twitch are super scaling late game monsters that are weak in the early game. Twitch even weaker now as AP Twitch. AP Twitch is very nerfed, so maybe AD Twitch is better now over AP Twitch as ADC. But yeah, they buffed the ultimate, so that's definitely gonna make him better. Like maybe as an ADC, AD based ADC instead of like AP Twitch. Then we have Morgana and Brand that are decent poking mages, but they are just weaker in the early game in comparison to the others and shorter ranged. Vega also very scaling and weak in the early game, and Senna as ADC too scaling and weak. Let's move on to support. The pick of the patch. Even though they nerfed Yuumi, I still think Yuumi is the pick of the patch. This cat needs to get banned. Because guess what? She makes any carry champion a hyper carry god. They didn't touch the third ability. They touched the poking ability of the first ability. And the ultimate, I mean, they nerfed it by 5%. 5% isn't shit. 5% ability power, the utility she provides is still too good from the third ability and also from the passive. And then the ultimate, they nerfed it by 5%. Doesn't matter shit. Like, honestly, Yuumi still, like, it's a placebo nerf. Placebo nerf doesn't matter, it's still broken. Pyke, amazing playmaking support. Lulu, very similar to Yuumi, a must ban, broken as fuck. Soraka with the healing, broken as fuck. She does need like one tank. She needs one tank to channel her healing. But if she has that, she can constantly heal that frontline, making him unkillable. They can just soak up so much damage. Then she provides silence as well. And constantly being able to heal everyone is just too good. Especially if she's in the backline safe, while the tank is like in front of her. Like, if you can't kill her, the team fight is gonna be impossible in late game. Lux with Magi's and Orb has become so good. Magi's got nerfed, but still having, not Orb, I mean Crown. Lux with Loot and Crown, Infinity of Death Cap or something, too good. High shield value, good poking damage, good utility, and then she has the bind as well to catch people. Thresh, I feel like a good Thresh is just devastating, just roaming, catching people left and right, has so much playmaking potential. The fling, the hook, the ultimate to zone people, the hook. I just think that a good Thresh is just way too good, especially in solo queue. Alistar, Leona, Gragas, Rakan, Nautilus, Galio. They are all amazing, engaging support playmakers. They're tanky, they're beefy, they have high crowd control, they can just initiate knocking multiple people up or stunning multiple people, or they are just soaking so much damage. Alistar, AoE knockup, damage reduction on ultimate. Leona, single target stun, great at countering enchanters in the early game, great at initiating all in and then long range stun from far away. Gragas has the ultimate to catch people, has the third ability to knock up people. Rakan has AoE knockup plus taunt as well. Nautilus has a root, has a knockup, has huge shielding as well. And slow. Galio, AoE taunt, knockup, global ultimate. Now we have Nami and Karma. Nami is an amazing peeling enchanter with good playmaking thanks to bubble and thanks to ultimate, while Karma provides really good poking damage with the first ability and with the ultimate, then the second ability providing root, and the third ability providing movement speed and shielding. Janna. Hi Janna mains. Hi my Janna mains. Hi my Janna mains. They nerfed Janna. They nerfed Janna's shielding and the movement speed on the second ability. Janna has become a low skill champion like Sona. No offense to Sona players, but Janna became like a Sona where you're just pressing buttons, pop, 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 pop. But she, like, the win rate got higher because the skill expression got lower, and now they're nerfing her because her win rate got better. But overall, as a Janna main, like if like Janna mains, like you can't shield the person you want to, and they even nerf the shielding. This champion, I saw someone was writing on Twitch yesterday when I was streaming. She's no longer Janna with an A, she's Yenna with an E, with an E instead. It's Yenna now. It's no longer Janna. Oh wow, Giga Chat Janna. Now she's still okay to play, but she's definitely way worse than beforehand. Morgana. Yeah, good utility, binds and poke. Then the ultimate and the spell sheet as well. Ashe, really good utility with the ultimate and the slow. Senna, great second carry, good utility she provides with the bind as well and the ultimate. Then we have Sona. Sona, I mean, Sona is good in the late game. She's kind of weak in the early game, but she gets really well into the late game, providing a lot of healing and shielding. But she needs a front line similar to Soraka as well. On very item reliant, but still decent tank with good crowd control. Braum, good tank, very good against poking champions. Has a decent single target stun, and then he has the shield to block projectiles and the ultimate to knock multiple people up. So definitely pretty good. Brand, AP, I mean, he's playable, but not that good in my opinion. Can be, he got buffed to be fair, but still. Decent poking support, but you do need someone who is frontline. Seraphine, weak in the early game, but one good ultimate can carry teamfights. Blitzcrank, coin flip hook champion. Amumu, decent in teamfights thanks to his ultimate, but otherwise he's pretty weak overall, especially in the laning phase. Swain to scaling, but provides a lot of utility in crowd control and teamfights. But yeah, that's good for the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and tell me your opinion down below in the comments. But yeah, for this patch, we have a massive nerf on Twitch. Twitch got butchered. We have a lot of items getting nerfed as well. Crown, Magi's, Rune and Terracan. And if you guys are interested to see how this is gonna affect the meta and the tier list, then definitely stay tuned. That's the introduction. I'll see you guys. Bye bye.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.